What did I teach you? You heard. No, 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 you're hey, number one. I can't hear you. You about to do, come there, you're hey, number one. Peace, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Just making sure everybody's good. Can everybody hear me? If so, just type it into the chat. Excellent. Excellent. Hope I'm clear enough for everybody to hear. Inshallah. Hope everybody's been well. Honors to all of the fathers. Indeed. Honors to all of the fathers who persevered, you know what I mean, to maintain and keep the race and the species going forward. You know, you don't get a lot of credit due to the fact that we live in a predatory, matriarchal society, unfortunately, posing as a patriarchy. However, we also give honors to all of the mothers who stand behind the fathers and respect the fact that it takes two. You know what I mean? Rest in peace, Rob Bass. What was I gonna say? Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions about anything? Got a question. Brother asked, are people programmed to accept those kids as Michael's biological offspring? Why do fans ignore where his legacy is left? I got love for Michael like everyone else. Those are just circumstances I've thought on. I think that was all. Those children were probably children that he basically helped rescue from the predatory pedivores that were at that level of agency, and may or may not have been children of other prominent people because they swapped children amongst each other for different reasons. That's what I think. And he basically raised them, like reverse programmed them, I guess, to believe that they were melanated or of the melanated race. Paris Jackson was just in a movie that the RZA did about racism and organ harvesting of melanated males, Moorish American males. And she played the love interest, one of the love interests to that weirdo guy, Shamik Moore, who does the voice for Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse movies. Yeah, I think that those children or children like that in those types of circumstances, a lot of them have been swapped and have been raised by other people to believe that they were, a part of other groups and other families when they really weren't, because that's part of the society that they grow up in. You know what I mean? Using a lot of this IDF stuff and stuff like that to be able to control and blackmail other people into doing what you want because they know that you have their children. So unfortunately that's a big thing that happens, you know what I'm saying? Which is unfortunate because a lot of these children don't deserve it, no matter what color they are. However, children are the battlefield that the devil uses to wage his war against God, you know. So unfortunately that's how a lot of this stuff go. Anybody else have any other questions? Yeah, it's been a lot of that type of stuff going on. A lot of these children getting swapped and used and eaten and hunted, you know what I'm saying? Because that's their culture. That's the culture that these these cannibalistic uh, humanoids practice to be able to keep control and to wage war, like I said, against the creator. That's how they choose to do it, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? Also, send out a rest in peace to brother Derek John Caraway, aka Sarah Yehudi Bey. His brother passed away sometime in May. He was a good brother. He was definitely a supporter of the channel and supporter of the work. So definitely want to give honest to his family. You know, and his passing. May Allah be pleased with him. You know what I'm saying? Does anybody else have any questions? So much stuff going on. Your boy Donnie getting blackmailed by the AI, BB Yahoo. Yeah, I mean, another nigga in a mask. Your man's Barry Satoro just opened up his little fake museum, presidential mausoleum. I guess whatever it is, it looked like a giant tombstone to me, but whatever. Anyway, they bitching because for some reason they got a thing about black people not being so-called black people, or people they refer to as black, not being able to have IDs. I don't know what racist, socialistic, Marxist, democratic, communist bullshit that is, but they got a thing with black people not being smart enough to have IDs and things like that anyway to get inside the museum. But to me, that's not even the case. What about the fact that all of the Caucasian contractors that worked on it got paid, but all the melanated contractors, which I believe is 4 or 5 of them, and none of them have been paid yet. So again, that goes to show you what I'm talking about with these boule niggas. They constantly doing things to signify how much they are for the so-called melanated people, but excuse me, however, when it comes down to it, they do whatever they can to box them out of getting their bread. So, this comes right after the UFC fighter came out and called out Mike, and said that Mike is a man. You know what I'm saying? In the middle of the joint, and they threatening have a lawsuit or whatever against them, but I don't think they really want to do that because I don't think they want any more attention brought to that. You know what I'm saying? As possible, because discovery, you know what I mean? In discovery, a lot of that stuff is gonna have to be proven, and I don't think they want to really go down that route. It's rather they just like talk shit about him saying that and then keep it moving. Because like I said, I don't think they can afford any more scrutiny than what they really have already. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. So that's going on. Yeah. So at the same time, the war is on, the war is off, the war is on, the war is off, but the war is going to keep going because you have a genocidal terroristic state that's out here fostering all types of international war crimes, not just in their territory, but in territories all around the world, like in Mexico, like in London right now, like wherever they got some sort of last bit of influence, they making sure that it's popping off. They just arrested a bunch of them in Thailand for securing land, for trying to own all of this land through scamming. And also they found that the scammers that was doing out there was also allowing them to run drugs. So they are definitely up there when it comes to terroristic states. Like you can't really deny it anymore. And the fact that all they want to do is bomb and rape and kill children lets you know that they're not really for it. But in their own scriptures, like I said, they said that they're basically there to serve Lucifer because that's really they God under the name of Baal or Moloch or whatever any of these fictitious entities that have been long dead that they want to keep trying to resurrect, call themselves today. Doesn't really matter, but that's what they doing. So it's up and down, it's a seesaw with that. Also they making this nigga Donnie look like a total asshole and an impotent leader, which he kind of is, but at this point they're just really just hammering it home and making him just look like a total buffoon, which is their goal. However, they keep talking about how, they're going to drop, they're going to try, if they don't let them keep fighting, they're going to come out and drop the files and drop all of the tapes and the sex tapes and the molestation tapes they got on it. It's like, at this point, why not? Just do it. It's not like everybody in this country don't already know that this is what all these niggas is doing. So I'm like, just do it. You know what I mean? Or leak what it is that you got to leak. You know what I mean? Or if anything, then if you're not going to do it, stop talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if they'd have had it like that, they'd have already put it out there based on everything they trying to get done. And this dude's standing in the way of that. So if the whole linchpin that you have is these tapes or whatever, just drop the tapes. It ain't like niggas can't go on the dark web and try to find them anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's why I just feel like a lot of that is just straight cap. They just be capping with a lot of this because they want to make it seem like they are all separate, or like these ones is good and these ones is bad, when all of these niggas is bad. You know what I'm saying? All of these niggas is down with it. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like they need to just kind of like either you don't put a condom on unless you're ready to have sex. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not going, you know what I mean? If you're not going to do it, then just take the condom off and stop playing. You know what I mean? Stop dick teasing and do what you need to do. You know what I mean? So that's it. Yes, Jason is upon us. For people that don't know, we were the first to break what Jason really means. The months between uh, July, August, September, October, November. These are called the Jason months. These are the highest ritualistic sacrificial months because this is basically the holiday season, or what they refer to as the season of the witch, that many of these psychotic animals tend to focus on and get as much done evil within this time frame. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely onto that. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely a thing that they do around these times, and it's also one of the heaviest months that the Jason Society actually gets together and do all of the things that they like doing, namely committing crimes, treason, rapes, murder, ritualistic sacrifice, cannibalistic hunting, hybrid, alien hybrid making, what else? Climate distortions, organ farming, organ harvesting, drug trafficking, like everything evil that you can imagine is what they do around this time. You know what I'm saying? So it's really good that we understand when these things happen so we know how to keep our head on the swivel. Everything kind of gets more pumping or more critical the closer you get to their holidays, like um, Beltane and Valpurgis, Walpurgis, and those types of situations. You know what I mean? Well, actually, Walpurgis already passed. Walpurgis usually happens around, I believe in April. Yeah, around April 30th to like May 1st. That's a heavy dates for them leading up to what we understand Jason and all of that to be. So yeah, so these are some of the things that have been happening and going down that our people are not really focusing on, because they're focusing on, the fact that one of their main pastimes is basically kind of up. They've destroyed rap and hip hop to the point where it's hard for them to produce stars that haven't already existed. And the ones that do exist ain't really popping. So of course we get some sacrifices. Rest in peace, Jay Keith, I believe that dude's name, the one who is with makes the beats for Sexy Red, whom herself is just another puppet to the um, you know, oligarchical take Tat Keith, yeah. Thank you. One of the sacrifices or one of the things to the fictitious slut rap that really don't sell, but people want to act like it do. You know what I'm saying? Because all of them have handlers. You know what I'm saying? All of them are basically controlled opposition. You know what I mean? And they're there to make our people look like the worst of the worst, you know what I mean, that exist or ever will exist. So we always look like we're basic uh, low life animals, you know what I'm saying? They're really into that. And unfortunately, this has created or helped to permeate the disrespect and the murder, you know what I'm saying, of the worldwide image that the original woman used to have prior to now. You know what I'm saying? Like they were really original women were really seen as the premier women, you know, and because of these situations and these animals portraying themselves to be what women are, you know, they've really destroyed a lot of the goodwill that our women pervasively had around the world, you know, and now they're being emulated for all the wrong things, unfortunately. So it won't be until real people stand up and actually, you know, negate that type of behavior and start to ostracize and shame those types of women and types of behavior, because all of it doesn't even really come from them. It's all learned behavior that was given to them by slut witches that were part of the grand feminist experiment, which itself was just another version of communism and Marxism, a false way of creating value by devaluing oneself. You know what I mean? All for the luxury of being indecisive and unattractive, because the goal of the feminists was to actually destroy the international view of how women were, so that way they would become slaves to their ego and become another tax base. That's really what they were created to do, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? It worked. So it is what it is. Yeah, so if anybody doesn't have any questions, we'll get into what's going on. So like everything else, turns out we were right when it comes to the whole secret society situation, that these people have been, you know, acting like we're crazy and gaslighting the populace to say that we didn't know and we were crazy and we were quote unquote conspiracy theorists, which basically is just somebody who is giving out spoiler alerts, you know what I'm saying, at this point. And they were trying to say that we were not correct and we were making up things and creating red herrings for people to get caught up in. But it just came out this week that there's a global secret society that's run by a billionaire homosexual, who again was one of the main partners with your boy Jeffrey F, aka Palm Beach P, aka the Ball, because that's what his bank account, that was the name on his bank account. And all of these guys have been meeting for the past couple of years. Like while we was all talking about the Bilderberger group and all of that crap, remember all of that? Well, these devils was out here meeting and colluding with one another to create legislation and to influence policy and to use the actual money from the people, which is illegal, to help foster collusion and treason amongst all of the different governments in the world that these people seem to think that because they have money they can buy themselves into and turn the world against each other. So this secret society was called Dialogue, and the irony is everybody involved with the shit are basically the same people who have been out here telling us and acting like they are, separate in nature, when it turns out that they all was basically working together like we've been saying they do. Because these people only don't even represent 1% of the global population. It's less billionaires in the world than there is like homosexuals in the world. Not picking on them, but just using that as an example, as a protected class or protected minority. And these people don't even exist in the same way that you and I do. You know what I'm saying? They exist in a bubble amongst each other. Yet anytime anybody of any influence get money or whatever, and they think that these people can help them do, fulfill their agenda, they wind up calling these niggas and trying to get them down with them. So this group, which is called Dialogue, named after the chat room that they all was in, were dialoguing and creating, like I said, legislation that would necessarily affect us. And it was all spearheaded by this devil right here, who was initially a part of another group of devils that started or were part of a thing they refer to as the PayPal Mafia, because this was the birth of the tech era and the tech bros that were basically trying to come out and basically buy everything so that way they could digitize everything, so that way they could find a way to control everybody's media and control everybody's self-worth by putting everything online and tokenizing everything. And these are the devils, like I said, who created all of the strife and were coming up with legislation at these events that they then could go back into their real life, their everyday life, and then act like they were just fostering these events and fostering these opinions, all based on trying to, I guess, do things to make the world better for us. When really, the head of the United States financial institution is talking to the head of the legislative branch, and then those niggas is getting together and then talking about how they can then hire the other dude that's there with them at the retreat to then hire him so that way he can then go into and set up legislation for them to be able to implement things like digital IDs and 15-minute cities and all this other type of shit, which essentially is treason. This is the basis of what collusion and treason is. And you're looking at it right here. That's why this nigga fled the United States and then moved to Argentina, like all Nazis did after the rat lines and shit they got exposed. They all go to where they masters went. You know what I'm saying? Thiel is German. He's a crypto small hat. So of course he went out there and tried to escape, set up his family because he probably knew that this shit was going to get exposed. You know what I'm saying? But irony is, this is the nigga who is invested in Palantir and all of this other digital security surveillance shit. But then these niggas get hacked. So it's like, how are you the number one nigga in the world for cybersecurity and finding info on niggas and using info against people, and then y'all niggas is always the first to get hacked? How is it that you niggas don't have no secure servers enough to be able to protect y'all little cabal from niggas on 4chan? Like, it's It's really crazy to me how this thing just be happening and how these things be constantly getting exposed on the internet. It's like at some point, y'all niggas don't just realize y'all gotta start using burner phones and flip phones. Like, get off the internet, nigga. Especially if you using it to dictate control and trying to, you know what I'm saying, make shit happen, and you know that they don't already found all y'all niggas texts from the Epstein shit. Like, it's still 5 million other documents that they still not releasing because they have to protect all of the pedophiles that are still running the government. So again, because you have a pedophile, cannibalistic, communist, socialist, dictator, tyrannical, extreme fascist, low key niggas, but because you could still go to Walmart on the weekends and shit, you don't think that it's popping, they still feel like they could do whatever. Like I tell people all the time, if you going on a trip to like another country somewhere, whatever, don't take your real phone. Leave your real phone home. Buy a travel burner phone that you can use so you and your people can contact each other and stuff while you out there. Don't bring your real phone like that, because soon as you come back, they're gonna try to read it and they're gonna try to go through it and all of that to try to like find reasons not to let you back in the country. Like, you gotta think smarter. You know what I mean? Think smarter instead of harder. Like, anytime you gonna travel like that, leave your real phone at home. Have a flip phone or some old school device. I say go back to a pager, nigga. Like, don't even have no real, you know what I'm saying? Nothing that these niggas could check Instagram and all of that. Get all of that shit off your phone, bro. like, cause you see, it's not helping these niggas. All of these niggas been outed. Look, here go the list. They got a list of these niggas. Look. Founder of Mercury, Imad Akund, uh Turkey Faisal El Saud, right? The king of Saudi Arabia is on the list. These niggas be, but then these be the first niggas talking about how, they're against the human rights violations and all that. You chilling with these niggas. You go into retreats with these niggas. So, and then they show some of the subjects that they were talking about, like how to survive World War III. That's why after a certain time, when they be like, yo, isn't it crazy all of these billionaires is out here buying bunkers? That's because that was one of the subjects at the party, at the cabal meeting. And then after the meeting, niggas was like, you know what, I need to get me a bunker. Who we know with bunkers. And that's when Jared and Ivanka went to go get theirs in Albania. And the Albanians that shut them niggas down. They locking up everybody in the government that was okaying it. So they shutting that down. That's when your boy Teal wind up running to Argentina and all of that. So whenever they have their little group meetings and they little pep talks with one another about what they should do, that's when they all run out and then do it. And then, like I said, half these niggas be Republicans, half these niggas be Democrats, but they all working together. Look, Pete Bridger, who look, Scooter Braun. See? Scooter Braun. That's the nigga who stole all the Taylor Swift money and was trying to set Kanye them niggas up. Look, who else? Cory Booker. See? Kami Corey. This nigga Corey. Cockeyed Corey. This piece of shit. This nigga is out here with these niggas talking about, oh, Trump is bad and this, and that. But you chilling with this nigga. You chilling with them. You cool with them. You a part of the club, nigga. Look, Sophia Bush, Peter Brown. Who else is on here? You can pause the tape later and then look. Ted Cruz. Look, Tel Aviv Ted. This nigga's in it. You know what I'm saying? This the nigga first one talking about anti-fascism and how we gotta support these niggas over everything else. Look, he out here. He out here with them. Right? Look, who else? Corey, Ted, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, aka Heath Ledger #2. This B-list fake A-list actor nigga. This nigga's in it. The bitch that owned Xbox, the president of Xbox, Sarah Bond. explaining why the Xbox shit is crashing and ain't nobody playing Xbox no more. Because this hag is out here with these niggas trying to figure out how they can use the gaming console to spy on more people, right? Instead of just making good games so people could play. Who else is on here? Goldstein, you know the small hats is thick in this shit. So we ain't even gonna go through all of them. I'm just looking for certain names that you might know like that. Who else? Who over here? Uh Boom, Brian Johnson, right? Um Jason Kwan, John Levine, the president of Stanford University. Wasn't we just talking about that? Look, Elon, this nigga's in there. This nigga Elon is in there. Acting like he against the party, acting like he about free speech and all of this garbage. This nigga the first one in there. These people, that's why they think that they're better than everybody. Because they keep they little club, they little money, and then they figure out how they can screw the rest of us over. These are the insurgents. This is the junta. This is the what you call it. These are the scum of humanity that's trying to basically destroy everything and everybody so they little group can act like they're gods over everybody else. And all of these niggas are totally impotent. They had uh um another topic of the conference, which was like, how's your sex life? Like, what? Like, why am I going to seminars with billionaires talking about what my sex life is like? Like, this is how much you losers these things. You know how much money these niggas got? How you have a bad sex life when you a billionaire? You could pay for whatever type of sex you want, but you got to go to a treaty. You got, excuse me, a retreat and sit down with a bunch of other strangers and billionaires and talk about what's wrong with your sex life. Like, these niggas is losers. You know what I'm saying? I know niggas with no money that's getting crazy box right now with no money. You understand? No money, not paying no money for nothing, and they out and they having babies by the tens. You understand? You got to be a loser. You got to be a total loser to be out here a billionaire talking, going to conferences where you got to talk about what your sex life is like. Like what? Like what? Niggas that's friends, like regular people that's friends for 50, 20 years don't even know what each other's sex life is like. You know what I'm saying? Because real friends don't ask questions like that. You know what I'm saying? Like your real mans in them, they don't need to know. You don't tell your mans in them what you doing, like unless y'all going out picking up shorties together. You're not out there asking your friend like what was that like what's the like that's borderline invasive, like, you know what I'm saying? Like real men don't be asking questions like that. You know what I'm saying? Of other things. If anything, it's gonna be something like, "Yo, did you hit? Oh, word, cool." And then that's it. And then we start talking about other shit. Like that's reality. These niggas live in a fantasy, right? They only identify themselves through their money. And it gets to a point where they've had everything handed to them for so long and never had to do nothing, and they're just always in this unaccountability matrix where they do things almost to get caught. That's why I think they still be doing this, because they actually want to get caught. They actually want to get punished. They're like degenerate gamblers. They're constantly out here doing shit and constantly getting exposed, constantly losing money, constantly being put on lists and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because they want to be punished for what they're doing. They want somebody to stop them. They want God to actually, they done so much sin, so much evil in their life that they want something to come down from heaven, strike them down, and punish them for eternity. That's what I think is going on. Just like degenerate gamblers, they actually get off on losing. The rush they get from losing and have to figure out how to gain more money to then gamble and lose again. That's what these niggas are. Cause remember, everything they deal with is rigged. The stock market rigged, the NFL is rigged, NBA rigged, what you call it, the futures market rigged. Everything is rigged in their favor. So what is there about? What is there in life for them to celebrate? Nothing, other than destroying yours, other than making your life a living hell. Other than that, they don't even feel anything. You know what I'm saying? These people are so detached from humanity, they don't even have feelings the way that you do. They can only identify with people who have money. You understand? So they're trapped. They are a minority on earth. It's not even a lot of these niggas, bro. And every year, every other year, it's a new group. It's a new society we done discovered. We done blew up the Bilderbergers. We done blew up the Committee of 300. We done blew up the Council of Foreign Relations. We done blew up we done been blew up the Freemasons. We done blew up the Eastern Star. They done blown up everybody. We done blew up the black nobility, the Jesuits. Who else? Whichever ones we don't know, we gonna find out. You know what I'm saying? That's why they gotta keep changing their name. Because they keep getting exposed. It's because they cannot hide. The world is not big enough. That's why these niggas want to go to Mars and they want to go to Jupiter and they want to make us believe space exists and all this other type of shit. So that way they act like so that way we can believe it. So that way they can harness power. They can harness the organic energy from our belief, funnel it into D-wave computers, try to activate it through CERN so they can crash these molecules together to create a possibility matrix that this thing actually exists, and then they all try to go there. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Matter of fact, a lot of these niggas don't even exist as real people. They don't exist like you think they're real. They're not. They're just characters that were created for you to believe actually exist. That's why they all be wearing masks. That's why they all be robots. That's why they all play different characters. You understand? Because a lot of these niggas is straight homunculi. They don't even really exist like that. The way that you think they do. They don't. They're total apparitions. Like I said, they're homunculi. A homunculus is another type of egregore, an entity that they can basically breathe life into and make it do what it wants to do. Like in the movie Sixth Sense, remember Sixth Sense? You thought that was a ghost. Like we find out at the end, oh, this nigga Bruce Willis was actually the ghost. Nah, he wasn't even a ghost. He never existed in the first place. He was a homunculus. He was a straight created entity by a group of people who wanted to create a being that they could make believe, to make it believe that it is real. And then they can do their work through it. Check out this movie. This movie's called An Empty Man. They got rid of this movie real quick. They took this movie off the shit real quick. If you can find it, watch it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And when after you watch it, then go back and you look at real people in the world, and you will see half of these niggas don't exist. Sometimes you will run into these things, and you will have total conversations with them. Like you ever just be somewhere, and then like you observe something, and then somebody next to you is there, or you on a plane and you just wind up talking to somebody and stuff, and you building with all of that. But you notice like everybody like ignoring you, not really paying attention. Sometimes them people don't even be there, B. You seeing them, but they not there. Like that shit happens to you. That shit happens to everybody in their life at least once. And you don't even realize it. Because they got everybody with their head so down living in their own life, people don't even realize that this is actually happening. So, like I said, a lot of these guys have been through trauma programming to the point where they don't and cannot exist around anybody. But the fact that all of these people are there together, working and talking together, and then leave here and then work together, right, while acting like they're apart, that is collusion. That is sedition. That is treason. That is an insurgency. You understand? That's the basic definition of it. So the fact that nobody's going to jail and they don't ever bring up treason lets you know that everybody down with it is treasonous. You understand? Everybody involved is down for the treason. They with it. They all working together to keep the rest of us as their so-called pay pigs. You understand? All of them. And the ones that's not usually get broken in the media. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, all of these niggas is working for the same demon, because none of these niggas are really human anymore, if they ever were, because everybody's been raped and tortured and traumatized in that world, to the point that they don't have their own mind, where their mind has been fractured to the point where they think that that type of crazy sex and illicit opening and shit is normal. They think it's normal to rape children. They think that. They think it's okay. So when you, that's why, like, when you be seeing the To Catch a Predator niggas and all of that, them niggas be looking surprised. You know what I'm saying? That's why they all have the same reactions, because they're all possessed by the same entities. They don't change. They all the same niggas, bro. Doing the same thing, because they're trapped. They're trapped in that hell. You know what I'm saying? That's why this nigga Elon Musk, he don't have human children. All his children got robot names. You know what I'm saying? All his children got cyborg names like XZ1 and all this bullshit. Like, who? Imagine going to school with a nigga like that. Like, yo, what's your name, G? XZ12. Like, what? XZ12? Like, what? Like, you bugging. Like, yes. But that's normal. See what I'm saying? But they think that's normal in their little fake bubble world. Like, look at how they got Northwest out here looking like a straight beast, looking like a straight demon. This bitch is 12, looking like a straight Frankenstein demon. Right? Right? But guess what? This nigga signed up for that. He down with the sacrifice for her. He with it. Why you think he had a baby with one of the most evil people in Hollywood? One of the most soulless entities in the game. You understand? This nigga Ray J said that the mother was the one, that the first sex tape wasn't even the right one. She made them do another one. Ray J said that Chris directed it, told him to slut him out. Her own daughter. Go back and look at the interview. And again, I'm not bigging up Ray J. This nigga is a maniac. That nigga is insane. But how could you not be? How could you not be? And remember, they all related. Ray J related to Ray J Brandy related to Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg and Ray J related to what's his name? They all related. All of everybody you see on TV as a major celebrity is related to somebody else. Cardi B, Glorilla, and Lil Uzi Vert is all related. They all cousins. How does that work? Dolph, young Dolph, Bless the Dead, and Juice World, cousins. You understand? So when I say that the game is rigged, it's rigged. They don't let niggas in there that's not down with it. You said Bow Wow related Glorilla. So that means Bow Wow, Glorilla, Lil Uzi Vert, Cardi B, all of this is related. Do you understand that breaks the coincidence matrix? Like, there's no way that can happen. Just like all of the presidents in the so-called United States corporation was related. Because you're dealing with one entity. And each one of these niggas is a tentacle in it. You understand? Stop looking at this shit as random. These people are all down with it. See, I didn't hear the Bow Wow and Glorilla thing. I did research the Glorilla, Uzi Vert, and what you call it, and Cardi B thing. So if you add in Bow Wow to that shit, you might as well add the Brat to that. You might as well just, again, they're all related. So when they bone each other, understand that's all incest now. They're having incest with each other because they're all blood related. You understand? You can't just come into the game like that and just be like, oh, I fell into this person for love. No, not at that level of the game. They got to do your zodiac. They got to do your blood type. They got to do all of that to figure out where you fit in the Kabbalist tree. So that way they can farm you out and write your script as to what you're going to play in the game. That's how it really worked. Yes, the Brat and Lisa Ray. Remember how you bugged out when you found out that they were sisters? Just like Samore and Nia Long is sisters. The comedian Samore and Nia Long, the actress, who may or may not be a dude, they sisters or brothers, depending on what story you want to accept. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you're dealing with. That's what I'm trying to say. This is what you're dealing with, man. So back in the days when you was like, yo, I just want to be a rapper. I just want to be an actor. I wish I could get in the game and this, and that. And you didn't go. That's because you was being protected. You was being protected. They looked at your shit and was like, oh, no, we can't let this nigga in. Oh, no. We can't let this chick in. No, we can't do that. They not going to go along with it. And we're going to have to, it may not work. This one has got too much protection. Get the one that don't have no self-esteem. Go for that one. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it worked. Then your boy, Auntie J, coming in the game, combing out hair weaves and shit, and wearing Eazy-E afros. Here go the Epstein clip where it said, this email is intended for only one person in the entity addressed to blah, 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 blah. For the communications, who is it at? Yeah. You want to know why we are not in Sao Paulo? Watch the TV ads on the Super Bowl. It's all about hip blacks in hip cars with white women. See? Look at everybody. Look at the Knicks players who played this year and won finally. Almost every one of them niggas is with a white woman. You think that's a coincidence? Go look at it for yourself. They're all with white women. Why? Or half white women, or ambiguous white women, or passing white women. Whatever type, it's got to be a white woman, a WIGHT woman. Why? Because that is part of the game. That's the one thing that nigga Cat Williams said right. Look at all the successful niggas. They all got a white or a light-skinned, big-faced woman on their arm. That's part of the ritual. Why? Because that's what the Dirty Moors did. The Dirty Moors raised up they woodwose and cephalophy females and herded them into harems, and then over the years groomed them out, cleaned them up, shaved them off, got the melanated women who was down with it to help clean them up, teach them in the charm schools how to satisfy the so-called white men, and then put the real worm in them, so that way when the when the Dirty Moors would have sex with them and then produce that baby, they would become satiated by them, and then they would continuously have these half-hybrid melanated people that they could use to put over their own people. That's the ritual. That's how they trust you. But once you do that, they respect you less. Because now you're expected to participate in all of the other stuff they doing. You got to have sex with men. You got to do this other stuff because you're showing that you down with us. So what does it say here? It says you want to know for hip cars and white women. The group should be in the streets. This group should be in the streets. Has been bought off by who? Jay-Z. This is your God. This is the nigga that y'all niggas is patterning after. This is who y'all say is the number one man, is the greatest businessman in hip hop. This nigga who constantly going bankrupt, who constantly in debt, who constantly having businesses fail, who constantly is being called on to sell y'all niggas out. He didn't even want to buy his own record. He didn't even want to buy his own masters to his own Reasonable Doubt record. But now he gonna give you a white vinyl, a all white vinyl record of an album that he himself chose not to buy, in which the state of New York went and bought it. So now when you go buy this album from Target, you paying the state of New York royalties. Isn't that crazy? But this nigga is gonna be the face to sell it to you. And said, "Oh well, other artists were selling in Target too. It wasn't just him, Kendrick and Drake. So boycott them niggas too. What are you waiting for? Who cares? Who cares? You understand? Like you know how many independent artists right now is making fire music that nobody's listening to because everybody's paying attention to this piece of shit right here. You know how many just artists I know, underground artists right now making fire music, touring, all of that. You will never hear about these people. Why? Because the algorithm done flipped on them. Look, anybody calling this nigga Hove is mentally ill. If you calling this nigga Hova, Jehovah, you're mentally ill. You have self-esteem issues. You needed a father in your life. That's what you needed, nigga. You need to put the Jay-Z albums down and go and find your father. That's what you need to do, nigga. Go raise your children. Stop calling niggas like this God, bro. 5% Nation, stop claiming this nigga, bro. Stop claiming him. Stop acting like this nigga is something to be followed, y'all. Stop it. It's like I'm 53 years old, man. I was around when this nigga was in the Hawaiian Sophie video. I had the white original flavor tape when I was working at the Source before this nigga was even out like that. You understand? I was there in the streets just watching Eric, all of that, and I was never impressed. Me personally, I was never impressed with this nigga. Never. He has some songs, but now I look back, all the songs I like by this nigga was made by somebody else that he just put his name on. So did I really like him? No, I like the song that he stole from somebody else. So I like that person that he was imitating. That's what I like. So again, if y'all calling this nigga Hova and y'all looking at this as some sort of savior of rap, at this nigga's almost pushing 60, 62, 63. You looking at this dude, something is wrong with you. Somewhere along the line, you made the wrong choices. And these niggas are the placeholders for that. So if I could show you this, if I could show you that this nigga Epstein, child eating, child hunting, child dismembering Epstein got this nigga on speed dial to be able to chill you niggas out whenever you want to go and stop boycotting whatever poison they trying to market you is, and they just call this dude in and he number one. Yeah, boss. Yeah, boss. I'll get the niggas to not do it. What you want them to not do, boss? I'll get it. And y'all gonna look at me, what? Because he married to Beyonce? What? Beyonce that was in the White that had to get put on by Wyclef, that Wyclef and them had to do a song with to make hot. That's what y'all doing. Okay, cool. Like I said, then going back to Obama, this nigga made a big fuss. Oh, we got all these black contractors, right? There you go, using that word again. Black contractors to come in and work on the building, the mausoleum. I told you this shit looked like a straight tomb. It looked like a giant tombstone. We got it out there, whatever. And now, boom, they done opened it. And now all of the black, so-called black people that contracted that he got to build it for him, they're going to have to take him to court to get their money. What? Hey, maybe he is black, because that's some nigga shit. You know what I'm saying? That's some nigga shit to do. You can't hate. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Maybe they should have went in there acting LGBTQ. Then they'd probably got a advance on their money. Just go in there and say, "Yo, we are we a black queer contracting group." He'd have probably paid them niggas right out and paid them after. You know how this nigga do. So it is what it is, man. That's all I'm saying. We at some point we gotta get grown. And what hip hop did was put us in a constant state of arrested development, where we would not grow past a certain thing. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the problem with it. It didn't allow everyone to grow up to the point where this 60-year-old man gotta be out here talking about how he stabbed all these years. All these years, unbeen dead. Unbeen dead for how many years now? Now you want to come out and claim the hit? Like, come on, son. You desperate. You definitely in debt. Them niggas must be on your head top. Pause for you to be out here talking like that. You tripping. So while that's happening, um, we done shot that down. Who else we got? Um, something else I wanted to show y'all. Yeah. This is why everything is dead. This is why none of all the movies suck. This is why everybody's just. It's why it's all corny now, because everybody is being exposed, and what they didn't bank on was the fact that the internet shit go two ways. Just like you could hack me and all of that, you could be hacked too, bro. You know what I'm saying? It go both ways now. So like I said, they upset now that this nigga done signed the peace agreement, and then with the peace agreement, he done basically put them out there where now they gotta fight for themselves, and they not gonna stop. So Iran said, well, we not gonna stop. Can't stop, won't stop. So it's back on. Now we fighting again. Now who fault is that? Everybody know who fault it is. Everybody know who the problem is. Like, anybody supporting them people at this point right now, you got to understand you being paid for it. And remember, they also being taken to court because of all the influences that they paid to make it seem like they were actually good people. They didn't pay them niggas neither. They didn't pay them their money neither. So everybody getting stiffed. Everybody is just done with these niggas. Like, everybody is just done. They're over it. We're over the child killings. We're over the child rapes. We're over it, man. So something gonna have to happen. Because again, you can't say that they're not who they say they are if they say they are that. What you need and I need to do is embrace the fact that that's what they believe about themselves, and allow them to do that within the boundaries of their own place. But they don't want to do that. They want to express themselves and throw themselves into everybody else's thing because they believe that everyone in the world is supposed to be their slaves. You can't negotiate with people who have these people were so xenophobic that they can't really speak the real Hebrew and stuff like that, that they used to create gangs that would travel around, and if they found you speaking the wrong type of language in their country, they would beat you almost to death. They would take children and put them in isolated spaces and only speak to them in the type of language that they wanted them to speak, and deprive them of even listening to birds. That's how out of pocket these niggas are. You know what I'm saying? That's how insane, xenophobically insane these people are. So there's no way to negotiate and trust some people like that. Like I'm to a point where I respect that level of insanity. Me personally, I respect it. You got to respect that level of insanity in order for you to rise above that. Because by having that level of insanity in play, you can you can match yourself to that and show, oh no, I'm really sane. Whenever you feel like you going crazy, just read some of the things that these people do and see how not crazy you are. You understand? Oh yeah. So then while all of this is happening, what you also are not being told is that France is collapsed. Basically, the people have taken France back over. Macron in them is in hiding. If Le Pen's party get in there, it's over. The whole country gonna go back to what it so-called used to be, because they are the farmers in France have so much control in France over the government that when the government said that we're gonna go into fake rice and fake farming and fake this, the farmers use their tractors to box off the capital area, and they filled up their their tractors and trucks. You know, like you have like a fire hose, how the firemen have like fire hose with water and you spray water on stuff. They filled up the hoses with manure and sprayed all of the government buildings and covered them in cow feces, b, to the point where the government workers can't even go into the building. The feces and manure is so caked up on the building, it's like a mud flood flooded over the shit where you can't even be in the area. That's how bad it stinks. That's how gangster the farmers in France is. They literally shut the government down by spraying it with manure. Like, you can't. And then they started, then the ones in Denmark, then the other ones started. That's why the EU is breaking down. That's why the whole thing is breaking down. Because they're not trying to allow the Fabians who took over the British society to turn it into this. They have government sanctioned rapes where the government, they have what they call grooming gangs, where gangs of Pakistani men was out here allegedly running through and raping women, raping little girls. 600 to 700 men raping them, beating them, torturing them, right? Leaving them in ditches, passing them around, selling them. This little white girls, they doing this too, specifically white girls, right? Raping them, right? Then whenever the police would be called on these niggas to do it, the police would arrest the people who was calling them to stop these people from raping them. This is a love. This is called progressive. This is what progressivism is. I had a commie online on one of these social media apps or whatever was trying to come at me because I was like, yeah, that commie socialism shit is really whack. And he's like, well, socialism is not this and it's not communism and this and that. One automatically leads to the other. You go from a socialist to a Marxist to a communist to a fascist to a, you see what I'm saying? To a nihilist. That's the natural progression of the shit. Naturally. This is facts. This is what is going on over there. Do you see the numbers? These niggas was putting up numbers. Young girls were subjected to repeated rapes, gang rape, trafficking, torture, pregnancy, and forced Islamic conversion by Pakistani men. Now, when you look up the stats on Pakistanis, they are one of the highest groups of consanguinity in the world. They marrying first cousins type shit. You understand what I'm saying? The IQ level of them people is in the toilet. But they got one of the world's biggest militaries. See what I'm saying? Raping them. Rapes. And the government was colluding with them. The government was letting this rock, yo. And this is what happens when you bring these Wahhabi, insane Muslims into your country and expect them not to go along and integrate into it. They went in and they elected all of these Pakistani, Arab, all of these different types of people, right? And then use the fact of, oh, it's white racism. This is reverse colonialization. I mean, yeah, it is. But rape is rape. I don't care if the baby is white. I don't care if the baby is yellow, purple, orange. Stop raping children, B. Like, it's that simple. It's that simple. It's that simple. If I'm walking down the street and turn the alley and I see a melanated man about to rape a little Asian boy, I'm not going to look at the melanated man and be like, oh, well, he black, they deserve it. They Richard Child shot that black boy, so whatever. Nah, B, nah. He's getting foot to ass because that's what a civilized man's supposed to do. You're supposed to take the head of the devil, regardless to what color the devil is. You understand? And I would hope that any other race that would see one of our children about to be raped by a white or an Asian or a Russian or a small or whoever would do the same thing. But I can't police them. I can only police me. And I would not be able to sleep knowing that I allowed this to happen because I didn't want to stop this black man from doing him. Like, what? Come on, B. Nah, that's maladapted. I don't live in that world. Rape is rape is rape. You understand? Whether it's happening to a man, a child, a dog, a cat, a goat, a sheep, it don't matter. Whoever is doing the rape needs to get up out of here. Because that is the way you stop rapes. Simple. Is that simple? Anything else? Any other argument other than that? We need to check your hard drive, B. We need to check what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? In your off hours. Automatically. Off top. You understand? I'm done with the liberal argument shit, the devil advocate shit. We're beyond that now. The devil don't have no. You can't. If you are advocating for a devil, you're the devil. See how easy that is? It's easy. It's easy. It stop all of the overthinking. It stop you from rationalizing and doing shit that you don't need to be doing for somebody that's evil. Look at this demon. This is the mayor. This is the mayor of London, bro. Who just happened to be Pakistani. You see what happens with these people? You see? Don't think about it. All of these rapists, these Muslim rapists and all that, all of them got mothers, All of them got sisters, All of them. All of them came out of a female, who raised these rape niggas. To think that that shit is okay. You understand? Look, the police, also Pakistani ethnicity in Rotherham, were complicit and joined in the rapes. Joined them. They became police so they could rape. Because their version of Islam say you could do that. They the type of Muslims say you could do that. We the type of Muslims say we could marry a 6-year-old girl. The Prophet did it, right? That's the type of Muslims. Muslims y'all niggas is down with. That's the type of Islam y'all dealing with. Melanated people, Moorish Americans. That's the type of Islam y'all condone it. Nah, that's why my prophet came and told me something totally different. Know what I'm saying? Came told me something totally different. The mayor of Rottingham said that Britain can only become great again by implementing Sharia law. You think King Charles gonna do anything about this shit? No. You know how many babies that nigga raped? That's why again, Idris Elba, hey, that's your boy, but that nigga ain't shit. Why? Because he got knighted by that devil. He got knighted by the nigga who was best friends with Jimmy Savile, who raped over 600 children in his lifetime. He was buddies with this nigga. They was going on hunting trips, wink, wink, with this nigga. And you gonna get on your knees, Idris. You gonna get on your black knees and receive a sword stroke, which represent his penis, put on your shoulders to become a knight in his order. And I'm supposed to look at this nigga, and I'm supposed to call this nigga sir? What? Y'all niggas don't have no self-respect. Y'all niggas, but again, he down with them. You down with them. You with these niggas. You with them. You okay with it. You proved it by getting on your knees at the same level as that man's phallus. Kneel before this nigga. You understand? This Dracula. This nigga is Dracula's. He's Dracula's direct descendant. Even though the original Dracula, Vlad Tepes, we know was a dirty Moor in the Order of the Green Dragon. There's a great Facebook page, a brother named Shiloh Israel. Check his joint out. His joint is dope. He be going in on all of that. Even though the Drakenbergs and all of them was Moors, dirty Moors, I don't care. If I was living back then, I would be fighting against them people. Just like I hope you would be. And we not interbreeding with them. We not into like these are his white descendants. So no, Idris, that shit was whack. As much, and then this nigga's African. So the same nigga who came colonized your country, turned it into a piece of shit the way that it is now. You on your knees getting respect, getting knighted from the same devil that raped and destroyed half of your peoples. But you about the people, right? You about the so-called black struggle, right, my nigga? No. No. You're not. Okay? Save it for the movie screen, nigga. That's just why He-Man flopped. You know what I'm saying? It's exactly why He-Man flopped, because y'all want to make He-Man into everything else but He-Man. He gotta be an empathetic He-Man. He gotta be a soft He-Man. He gotta be a him He-Man. Like, nah, B. Nah. He-Man was not indecisive in the cartoon. Once he became He-Man, it was on. Everybody was getting their ass whipped. He was not thinking about how to do it and none of that. Soon as he became He-Man, that was it. He was beating Beastman and the rest of them niggas to death almost on that show. So I don't know who this white man, I don't know who this He-Man was I was trying to pass over. But again, this is coming from the niggas who be going to the secret society meeting at Peter Thiel's house. So of course they're going to create a gay He-Man because their He-Man is married to a man. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. What else we dealing with? Something else I wanted to show y'all. So, oh yeah, so the back rooms was out. Big up to brother Ani Asaru. We did a interview the other day, and we was building on that and what they really are. And for those people that don't know, the back room started as a based on a picture. It was one picture of a room, of an all yellow room with this funny looking carpet, and everybody was like, "Yo, is definitely something weird about rooms like this." You know what I mean? When I see them, and then somebody else commented on it, and then people started making other comments, and people started posting other rooms, and other things started happening, and then people started creating stories about the rooms, and then it basically just turned into what you understand the back rooms and stuff to be today. So it actually developed from an organic source. That's how you know that these non-liminal spaces actually produce elements of nostalgia and remembrance in people based upon how they are structured and what they represent in the mind of the human psyche. Okay. And these non-liminal rooms, we've all been in them at one point in our life or the other. When we speak of non-liminal spaces, we're talking about any space that when you go into it, you have certain feelings or reoccurring feelings of things that you wouldn't that you can't really explain if you weren't in the vicinity of a place like that. um 1 second, let me pull this up. It's like what I was saying with the how, like, as we move closer to July 1st, how we start with the how our ancestors used to start the new cycle by saying rabbit rabbit. um it's the same situation with that. When you say things like that or do things on a new moon or new beginning, you're creating a new space within the organism that is the universal spatial continuum that you exist in. Everybody has a biofield that they exist in, and what comes in or out of the biofield depends upon what you allow into the space. So if you are constantly projecting energy of a certain type, then that can only attract other energy of that certain type. So if you are constantly, let's say, one of these people who are constantly looking at dirty magazines or things like that, you're going to attract those types of people, and you're going to be in environments that have those type of spaces. But then the law says that whatever those types of spaces enjoy, you are agreeing to do so as well. Like, if somebody comes to ask you, be like, yo, let me get a picture of you, like, don't give that person no picture, like, because sometimes people will ask, or like somebody taking a picture of you and doing work is different than you giving a picture to somebody and then them doing the work. Because once you give them the picture, you by consent, unknowingly, by tacit consent, are agreeing to allow them to use that picture however they want. So in essence, you've given them permission to do work on you. You understand? I got a relative that always be asking me, yo, can I get a picture of you and you? Nope. Nope. I don't even answer no more. I just don't do it. You see what I'm saying? But I had to learn that the hard way. So it's the same thing. You know what I mean? You don't want to leave excess energy of yourself in areas that you don't need to be. So the higher you raise your vibration, right, the most likely you negate anything negative coming in to lower the vibration. You understand? Like, I used to do exercises, spiritual exercises, where I'd be walking down the street and I would imagine a sphere of mirrors pointing outward away from me. So the back of the mirror is to me, the front of the mirror is to everybody else. And I imagine these mirrors like floating all around me in all different directions. Especially when I would be on the train, I would be like in heavy public spaces like that. And what that would do spiritually would be to keep whatever is being projected at me, whether it be the evil eye or evil intent or whatever it is, and it would automatically go back to that person. You see what I'm saying? And I would see that certain people at certain point, people would look at me and then turn away right away, you know? Or I would imagine a violet flame, you know what I mean, around me, and anybody that I come in contact with, you know what I'm saying, they would they wouldn't be able to break through that unless they were on a specific energy. You know what I mean? So those are some things you could do to do that. But non-liminal spaces in terms of that also bring about the unspoken emotions. We know most of the emotions that we know is what? Happy, sad, happy, sad, mad, angry, um, depressed, right? What else? Happy, sad, angry, depressed. Uh, what's another one? Like they only really talk to us about like five or six. Well, there's actually 23 other ones that nobody talk about. And these emotions are usually manifested out of being in non-liminal spaces. So sonder, right? Sonder is an emotion that comes, which is the realization that each passerby has a life as vivid or complex as your own. So whenever you walking by somebody and they look a certain way and you like, I wonder what that person's life is, blah 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 blah. That's called sonder. That's the emotion of sonder, or that emotion that emits is called sonder, right? Opia, the ambiguous intensity of looking someone in the eye, which can feel simultaneously invasive and vulnerable. That's opia. So when you be talking to somebody and they can't always look you in the eye, or you looking directly at them, and they almost feel like you are just they just can't keep your gaze, they're experiencing opia, right? Which sounds a lot like obia, right? Monochopsis is the subtle and persistent feeling of being out of place. That's when you are like the only melanated person, the only Moorish American in a whole school full of Caucasians. You know what I'm saying? Or you go to a country where you're the only melanated being and everybody around there is homogenically whatever the phenotype of the nation is. That's what that's called. Ennoyment, the bitterness, the bittersweetness of having arrived in the future and seeing how things turn out, but not being able to tell your past self. That's the higher level of deja vu. You understand? You know how they say in hindsight, everybody's a genius? This is the higher level of that. Okay. Uh Another one. I've experienced this a lot when I used to go and go book hunting or go book liberating, as we used to call it. Velicor, the strange wistfulness of used bookshops. You'll also feel that emotion when you're in like old thrift stores and you come across some old stuff that you see and it kind of look familiar, or you automatically gravitated to it. It might have been yours and you're just coming back in this life to retrieve it. You see what I'm saying? Remember, energy don't die. It just recalibrate and redistribute itself in another facet. Another facet could be another time, right? Uh, Canopsia, the eerie, forlorn atmosphere of a place that is unusually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet. That's the back rooms. See what I'm saying? That's what you feel when you're in them. So, like if I was to show, I'm gonna show you some rooms and you'll see what I'm talking about. This one is crazy. Mauer, Bauer, Trower, Rigiet. Mauer, Bauer, Trower, Rigiet. The inexplicable urge to push people away, even close friends who you really like. Everybody experienced that at one point in their life, right? Uh, this chrysalicium, which is the anemonic tranquility of being indoors during a thunderstorm, right? Joustia is the hypothetical conversation that you compulsively play out in your head. So, what you think are thoughts, these are actual emotions that you're feeling, but you have not crystallized them as that because nobody ever gave you a list of what they are. Ellipsism, a sadness that you'll never be able to know how the history will turn out. You ever say to yourself, damn, I would one day love to see our people get to the top and actually be on top of stuff? That's what you're feeling. That's the emotion of that thought. Thoughts, when you think feelings and thoughts are separate, one manifests out of the other. The thought manifests the feeling. The feeling does not manifest the thought because all things begin from thought. That's why in jail, in murder and stuff, they have to produce, in order for you to get convicted for murder, you could kill somebody, but the tenet of murder is malice. Did this person have malice at the time that the murder was committed? You understand? That's the difference between murder and manslaughter. Did you have malice? Did you want to kill this person when you killed them? If the answer is no, then it can't be murder. It can only be manslaughter or something else. That's why Richard Child got off, because the so-called black male attorney was able to prove that there was no malice intent in the murder, because he thought that the child who he killed was showing the gun to kill his son. See how they flipped it? And because also the physical appearance of having a melanated man defend this Asian man for killing a melanated son, you see, is equivalent to when you go to family court having a so-called black female lawyer on working for you. You see what I'm saying? Because then subconsciously you got to, the layman looks at it like, oh well, he can't really be that bad if he has a black male female representing him. You see, the same psychology is at play. Notice, where is it at? Notice Toland's, the realization that the plot of your life doesn't make sense to you anymore. We've all experienced that, right? Liberosis is the desire to care less about things, right? Outschmerz, the wariness with the same old issues that you've always had, the same boring flaws and anxieties that you've been gnawing on for years. See, once you can identify these things that you're feeling, you can then work to specifically move past them because you've given them a name. Once something is named, it's defined. Once something is named and defined, it has a definition. Once it has name and definition, it has cause. Once it has a cause, it has an effect. Once it has an effect from that cause, it can now be averted. You see what I'm saying? But they don't talk to us about how the mind works. That's why you have symbols. That's why you have signs. That's why you have patterns. So that way you can evert and divert and avert certain elements of your personality that may be getting the best of you because you do not fully understand how your ego is working you. That's why they only tell us about those 5 emotions that I named in the beginning, because they are the base. But there's so many more. It's more than this. Right? So the non-liminal space is a regular occupied environment built for specific daily activities, human interaction, or dwelling. Unlike empty or transitional zones, like empty airports or waiting rooms that feel or eerie suspended in time, these places are active, lived in, and full of life. Like, have you ever gone into an abandoned house? Have you ever gone into a mall that was shut down? Have you ever gone into like a space that usually is full of people and not? Like, I remember when I first went to Japan, I got off the elevator, and the first thing I realized was like it was me and the people getting off. But then, like, how it was is like where I was going, most of the other people wasn't going. So I got down to this part of the elevator and the whole shit was like empty. It was like nobody was in the airport. It was like me, my bag, and that was it. I ain't never been in the airport like that. And so I'm walking, expecting to see, so I ain't see nobody for like 10 minutes. I'm just walking, walking, walking. And it was like I was in another, it was like, did I land it? Am I in Japan? Like, like what's going on? And then eventually I saw like one person and another person, and eventually I got into this place and it was just mad people. But for like 10 minutes straight, I'm walking through the airport. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't, like, all I saw was literally the airport. There was no loudspeaker noise, no nothing. Man, then it was totally clean. I'm talking about the airport was spotless. It was clean, clean. Like, no, I didn't even see no garbage cans. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how clean it was. One of the first things I remember from that. So that's what I'm saying about that. So when we live in spaces, we give that space our energy. And then once that space, our energy is gone, it's no longer there, but the remnants of us is there, right? Like, you ever move out of your crib and then like you go back in the crib and then you give it a one more thing to make sure you got everything out, and you just see what it looked like, wow, this is like, it's totally empty now. Your energy is there, but you're not there anymore. But there's still an element of you there, but it's not. You ever notice that when you move out of a crib, it's always takes longer for you to move everything out than for you to move everything in? Like, it seemed like it take forever to move everything out the crib. But then once you get to the new crib and you bring everything in, it's like that. That's the progression of the non-liminal space. So they use non-liminal spaces to garner energy from us when it comes to movies and things like that. One of the most known back rooms that they showed us before the back rooms was this. See if you know what movie this is from. 1 second. Mm, just had it. Also, remember, most of these Hollywood movie directors were government employees at one point or the other. Like, George Lucas allegedly made his bones because he was the guy who taped the Hell's Angels killing that black man at that Rolling Stones concert, allegedly, back in the days. And the Rolling Stones just kept singing while the black man was getting murdered by the Hell's Angels, allegedly. And then from there, he was able to come up. Stanley Kubrick was the one who filmed the moon landing for them, the fake moon landing. You know what I'm saying? Steven Spielberg, he was the one that was, he was heavy with the mafia, allegedly, and he's the one that helped them bring out all of that alien shit. You know what I'm saying? Brian De Palma, excuse me, Francis Ford Coppola, he's the one that helped them with the whole Vietnam shit, to try to sell them the Vietnam thing and get us to almost accept it as a natural occurrence, in by making it seem like it was that war was actually not justified but a natural progression of the human psyche, when really that was the war that drove the Americans insane. So each one of these guys was definitely down with it. Now let's see if you know what movie this is from. I know what movie this is from. Right away. Jermaine, right away. Addison, right away. The Shining, The Shining, The Shining. You see? Exactly. Jack Nicholson. See? You knew right away. Why? Why? Because that was a program film. That was a film that got us to understand the retreats. That was the movie that exposed all of the satanic, ritualistic, child molesting, child rape, and murder, cannibalistic, satanic shit they was doing. That they was all going to the retreats at the Overlook, and how the actual space was that was possessed and that would possess everybody. And at the end, once he sacrificed his family, or tried to sacrifice his family, which wound up sacrificing himself, he then could be down with the club. That's why at the end he was in the picture with everybody. See what I'm saying? That's the Illuminati. That's the same type of clubs and retreats that the Peter Thiel and the rest of these niggas be going to. Exactly. Yeah, Doctor Sleep wasn't bad. I feel like they should have had a thing in there with Nicholson. Like, it would have been better if Nicholson was the bartender. Even though they had a nigga who looked just like him playing him, but it would have been ill if Nicholson was in there. Just like Disclosure Day would have been 10 times better if they'd have had E.T. in there. You know what I'm saying? And the aliens from and Richard Dreyfuss. Either if they didn't have E.T., it would have been ill if they had Elliot grown up and Richard Dreyfuss from Close Encounters in it to make it full circle. But but yeah. So this is from the Overlook. This is an example. This example is an example of the back room. The one on the left, I believe this was the first picture that they showed ever of what they believed the back rooms was. So the feeling that you get when watching this, like if you was to just focus on this, one of the things you always think is like, what's around the corner? Like, what am I not seeing in seeing this? That energy. You see what I'm saying? That's what these things are supposed to do. But these are portals, because these are the types of rooms that when they would do mind control, fracturing, and splintering of the consciousness in things like MK Ultra and Phoenix and the Phoenix program and shit in the children, they would tell them to create rooms like this in their minds with doors that they could go into to hide information. In the movie, was it It? No, it wasn't It. It was one of the Stephen King movie books. They talked about this, where the kids actually was able to go into their minds and pull things out of the library. They had a scene in there where they would go into the mind of the person and do certain things, you know what I'm saying, to pull information and keep themselves hidden from the entity. That's what these rooms are there to manifest. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the problem with the whole thing. They don't have any reality or any movement outside of that. It's just a dead space, but there's something ominous about it. Exactly. Um, Another one. Hold up. And you also notice the patterns on the floor. Whenever you see patterns like this, that's all kind of crazy. These patterns represent the the static energy, the kinetic energy that happens when you're moving. So, like, remember when you would have TVs and it would be like static on the TV? Or like in Poltergeist, when the little girl, Heather O'Rourke, bless the dead, would be in the TV doing her thing, and she would then touch the TV to try to get to the entities and all of that. The same type of energy. It's a kinetic energy that's actively making you move. It's representing movement, while everything around you is pretty much static. This is another level of psychic distortion that they use in it. In the movie, the guy, the melanated man in it, was the owner of a furniture store, and the furniture store was called the Ottoman or the Ottoman Empire, right? Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire, right? Which is crazy. Now, what's crazy about that is the original Ottomans or the Ottomans were the original Americans over here. I done whole videos on that. They were actually called the Ottomanguan, right? And those Ottomanguans or the Ottomans, right? They had their own culture. But you know how the white man he come and flip it and then make it, international. So they had an international aspect to that. Big up to brother, there's a brother on internet, brother Shikumaga L. He has a great channel. Check his stuff out. He's done videos on the Ottoman Americans and all of that. So check that out. But what's wild is in the movie, he was Ottoman, right? He was Captain Clark, right? His furniture store was called the Ottoman Empire, but you see, he's dressed like a Barbary pirate. You know what I'm saying? And he got the four lights behind him, which represent the pillars, right? And he's holding the the ship's mast, the ship's wheel, but the ship's wheel is also. Let me show you. Let me show you this. Hold on. My bad. The ship's wheel is the wheel of Dharma. Now, when you look at this picture on the left, it's telling you one thing, but you got to also flip it. Remember, they started out melanated, and then through the years, they allowed their what you call it children to take their place, and they started to recess themselves because they were fighting a war against the rest of us that was melanated, and the only way to work with the entities that they was doing was to create vessels, homunculi that had less melanin for them to inhabit. Because the Ottomans at that time was melanated, the Moors at that time was melanated, but a lot of these Moors that was so-called Hebrews at the time, they were in rebellion against everybody else. So they brought with them their Caucasoid children and slaves, and then started to again do that amalgamation to allow more of them to occupy, so that way they can create more golems through them, so that way they could fight wars against the rest of the melanated world by proxy, and then they recess back into the recesses. So it always looked like we fighting Caucasian people and stuff, when these Caucasians was actually being manipulated by their so-called black forebearers. Like I said, Vlad Tepes was mad dark skinned during the time of his life, but then 5, 6 generations after, they all is basically melanated people that are fighting in the name of these people. Like in the movie The Last Night with Morgan Freeman and 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 the white boy, I forget his name, and he was the last of his line. His melanated son died, but he and Morgan Freeman, who was the last night, had to give up his title. But to do that, he had to give it to whoever who was worthy, and he only had this white boy. And so he gave his name and title to the white boy, and then the white boy was able to follow through with everything. You understand? Like in Trading Places, when the Dukes gave their name to Reggie Hammond, Reggie Hammett. See what I'm saying? Reggie Ham. You see what I'm saying? And then he was able to get all that money, and then they wanted to get it back, and then he wouldn't give them the titles back. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Just like in the movie he did, Distinguished Gentleman, where he ran under the name of the dead white man. Remember? And everybody thought that the white man was going to get in. But then when he showed up, they was like, well, how is it? He said, oh, that's my name. You see? They use trade names. Just like Carmelo Anthony, that's a trade name. How is it that Carmelo Anthony, at the same time he getting locked up, the original Carmelo Anthony that married Lala was playing for the Knicks, he wound up going to the Hall of Fame almost on the same day? How do you explain that? Because they trading on the name. The name is just a placeholder for the entity, like I've been telling you. So after the Jews were kicked out of Spain, the original so-called Jews, the Hebrews, right? Ottoman Empire gave them refuge. Their descendants became the Don Me, the crypto Jews. They were the wealthy, reached high positions within the Ottoman Empire. They later played a key role in destroying the empire, see, through the Young Turks movement. And their goal was to create the Jewish state of Palestine. That's why the Turks don't like them niggas now. Because they replaced, once they got fully bleached out, they did the same thing to the Turkish nobility, bleached them out. Then they started to replace the Turks that was running that Turkey over there, running that, and replaced them with a Greek. The Greek was called the Ataturk, and then the Ataturk turned them from a Muslim country into a Muslim secular country, and then banned the Fez. But look, here go Captain Clark. You see what he's holding? He's holding the mask, right? But the mask is also this. The wheel of Dharma. See what I'm saying? So when the Moors was using this wheel to channel and sail the 7 seas, right? The 7 states of consciousness, each direction, each turn of the wheel was bringing them into one of these immutable facts. See what I'm saying? The right intention, the right mindfulness, the right concentration, the right speech, the right action. You notice that there's no lefts on this, right? So this is what Captain Clark is doing. But look at the name, Captain Clark, CC. And what did I say? That this thing is traveling what? The 7 seas, right? So he's a Moorish Ottoman in the Moorish Ottoman Empire, right? Dressed as a Barbary pirate. In where? Santa Clara, right? Which is in where? Khalifa, California, right? Showing you that this is really about the non-liminal spaces that was left open by the Moors of the Moorish Empire, or it can be perceived as that. But then look at this. One of the more sent me this from the video we did last week where I was showing you the angles and how they doing it. Look, but then he came into one of the room and the room was like this, which is a version of the image on the left I showed you. All of these represent the angles, because if we was to look at all of this, if I was to draw a line from here to here, and then from here to here is 90 degrees. Always giving you your history without telling you that that's what they doing. See, he got the purple shirt with the royalty. Right. Thank you, Moore. And that's right, Jelani. And he was an architect by trade, but he couldn't get on in his architectural gig because he was working at the furniture store to help put his wife, who didn't like him, through school. Isn't that crazy? So it all come full circle, B. They always telling us about ourselves. And see this, see the Moore holding a little picture of the white woman? See that? There's a dude on Facebook and on, I believe he's on TikTok. I don't know because I don't have TikTok. But he got a page where this nigga been going into the Grand Canyon and he been blowing it up. All of the videos that I was doing back in the days, telling you about how they got the pyramids and the melted castles and all that shit. He's showing all of that. So we talk about non-liminal spaces. When you go to his joint, support what he's doing because he's going through all of it. And everything we've been saying is right there. The castles, the Egyptian, the so-called Egyptian hieroglyphs, the altars, all of it. This is just a clip I'm gonna show you from two of them. He walking in them too, like he walking inside of the shit. They got the pictures of the black people on the walls. They got the pictures of the black people underwater with the giant squids above their heads. It's crazy. He is off the chain with it. You got the etched columns, like it's all melted. It's all of our shit. And remember, I told you, if you keep walking through the Grand Canyon, keep going, you wind up in what they call the continent, what they call Africa, which is why they don't want nobody going there. It's called Mr. Mountain Beast. That's his site, I believe, or his page. Yeah, Mr. Mountain Beast going crazy. He just in there with this white man in there with his dog. Niggas is going deep in it, Pete. They got all type, like you see the obelisks, everything. Told you they can't hide nothing no more. They can't hide nothing no more. So definitely check it out. It's dope. So we talk about non-liminal spaces. This is it. We already in all the real old world right here. We ain't gotta go nowhere else in the world. That's why everybody keep coming back here, because this is where it's at. What else? Anybody got any questions? Before we close out? Um, yeah, we Muslims. Closest thing that we got is to that is Sharifan law, or what they call Muslim customary law. That's what we're supposed to be dealing with. That's what people like the Prophet brought to us and urged us to understand. And when we work the Constitution and stuff like that, that's actually what it's supposed to be working for in our perspective. These other people, these Dajjal worshippers posing as Muslims, these Baal worshippers posing as Hebrews, these what you call it, Lucifer worshippers posing as Christians. You see what I'm saying? They are the ones that's violating everything. They are the ones that's having a double face. That's why they all involved the secret societies, the secret orders, and saying the names of these things and do these satanic rituals and then moving up in society and then using their secret connections with each other to help destroy the rest of us that's living in the open. They are the ones, descend from the ones who created the circumstances that allowed places like this to basically be burned and melted to nothing. And they're trying to do the same thing now. Because, like I told you, the only way that they feel that they can be punished or whatever is to be totally wiped off the face of the earth. And now we're at the stage where they're trying to do it again. This from United Nations from 1945. The Muslim legal system is a system unquestionable in originality. Its autonomy is evident as a legal system largely governed by the distinctive character of a social community, very different from that in any other legal systems that have reached normative maturity. The International Congress of Comprehensive Law was held at The Hague 1932, decided that Muslim law is entirely independent source of comparative law, not Muslim law, not Islamic law, not Sharia law, but Muslim law, which is what our prophet referred to us as Muslims, right? In 1938, the question of the relationship of the Roman law to Muslim law was brought up in consideration of the Second Congress in Comparative Law. The Congress stated implicitly that Muslim law was an autonomous legal system which did not depend on other established systems. The body of professors representing Egypt, right, at the Congress had submitted to it a memorandum to illustrate this scientific as well as historical date by developing the descriptive research on the scope of constitutive elements of Muslim legal system, its creativity, its creative evolution through the normative activities of its complementary sources. And this was developed by us, by the Moors, because those Arabs did not even know how to read. So, how could people who did not know how to read, who did not know how to write, who did not keep records, who lived in dirt farms, who was fighting blood feuds with each other, having sex with each other's children, how is it that they created a nominal aspect of law that has lasted up until now and could be autonomous? They couldn't. Therefore, they took somebody else's, which was ours, hijacked it, put their name on it, flipped it and bounced it, and turned it into this bullshit that they're dealing with now. That's why they don't call it Muslim law. They'll call their version of it Sharia law or Wahhabism, which is all based on the shit that was created by the Don May, right? Who were the amalgamated so-called crypto small hats that went out to basically destroy what was left of the Moorish Empire. All that Walston reports apocryphal as this, but he is the mere compiler with the little discrimination as to what he pillages. He indulges in the latest fads of Oriental spelling. The Quran becomes Quran, right? Ours was with a K, right? Theirs is with a Q. So they switched it from ours, put it to theirs with a Q. And he that we knew as Mohammed have then come to speak as Mohammed, here figures as Muhammad, right? While our old Muslim, see, our old Muslim becomes Muslim. But he does not tell us how to sound these new vowels he sticks in, though we must suppose that he gives them with ordinary English sound for that part of Arabia, which we know now as Yemen, he calls Yamen. See? So then that would mean that Muslim comes from the English version of Muslim, which means one comes before the other. because one is has its own autonomous form of law, while the other is based solely on a religious aspect that was, again, corrupted and turned into what it is by people who weren't that to begin with. I was sent this by one of the Moors, who said that he got it from a brother, a page called, I believe it's called a Maxim Almanac. So big up to him. Yep. Trying to think anything else. Anybody else have any questions? I wasn't able to get into this, but we may deal with this next week. The suggested major U.S. future warfare issues. This was done by NASA a year ago. It's crazy, but we'll build on that. Um, in the meantime, these are some books you can check out, written by some good Moors, supporters of the channel. I wanted to give them some respect for their works. We gotta support each other, especially when authors, because literacy is so important for our people right now, because they're graduating many of our children without the ability for them to learn how to read. So the more and more that's out here doing actual literary works, we definitely need to support them. Muslim law would be Muslim law. Mohammedan law would be what they refer to Muslims when they were referring to Muslims as Mohammedans. So Mohammedan law would be a placeholder for Muslim law, but that can also be confused with Sharia law, being that Muhammad is specifically associated with it. If you notice, Muslim law is dealing with the law of the Muslims, not necessarily the law of Muhammad. That's where they try to get you to say that it's all used interchangeably when it's not. So yeah, the first book was written by brother Minister Khan. You definitely want to check out his book. It's real good. It gets into the whole science on the Ebrides or the Hebrides or the Ebrides or the Ebers or the Hibiru or the Eberu. Definitely check that out. Check out this joint by brother Marco L. Bordy. It's a real good book. And then this one is a fictional account, but if you're into good book reading and all of that, definitely brother D. Amari Jackson is a great book. He said he watched the stuff that I was doing on Randolph. Big up to Randolph, Pascal Berry Randolph. You should be reading his books too. He's very good in terms of occult and stuff like that. If you into that, he was the first. I've done whole videos on him, so you could check that out. You go back in the library and check it out. But this is a good, like, fictional tale of him and his relationship with Lincoln, which has some historical elements to it. So anybody, like I said, any Moors that's putting down great literature and stuff, I want to try to support and spotlight on my platform, so that way people can check them out as well. You know what I'm saying? Because if we don't support each other, who else going to do it? Anybody else have any questions? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Exactly. The original Doctor Strange. That's right. PBR. Um, yeah. So whenever you see, like I said, whenever you see non-liminal spaces like that, just know that those are spaces that if you ever needed to create like a mental library to be able to, think, those could be frameworks or archetypes for you to be able to use in the mind to put them in, to put information and stuff in that you can definitely go back and revisit later. Yep. So yeah, so again, thank you guys for coming through. I hope you guys was doing the knowledge and you enjoyed what we was building on. I greatly appreciate the support. If you haven't already, please check out www.aseertheducateers.com, where I have my books up there, as well as links to all of my other stuff that we got going on. Shit, my bad. Um, yeah, you can check me out at houseofel at hotmail.com. What else? Yeah, if you haven't already, please check out the ADOT app. Let me pull it up for you real quick so you can see it. If you haven't subscribed already, please, I definitely appreciate it if you do. Uh, Also, if anybody wants to send a donation to the channel, you can do it through here, Morally Correct Mediums, at #DV880. This is what the app looks like on the Google and Apple Play Store. I got a lot of my information on there. I just uploaded another batch of the old Super Hayward Radio, um, my old Super Hayward Radio stuff, broadcast that was going on for like 7 years that we had lost from Blog Talk, but we was able to get them back. So big up to Sustain Brandon for helping me compile that and getting them up there to speedy fashion. So I think we got one more drop after that, and the entire 7 year run will be on there. So you can listen to that at your leisure. We got free PDFs on there. Some of the books that it's hard to find, I'm putting more up there. We also have a live stream element on there that I'm gonna be implementing more frequently soon, as well as a lot of videos that I couldn't put up on YouTube that I could just put up there directly. So you can definitely check that out. Also, if you haven't already, please check out www.cordobaorganics.com for all of your skincare needs and all of that. It's definitely good for the body. You know what I mean? Good for the soul. 100% clean. Um, yeah, 100% products clean for the body, making sure there's no artificial preservatives, no parabens, no none of that in it. So that way you always know that you got the real, you know what I'm saying? And don't have to worry about, getting cancer and shit like that they be putting in all of the products now, unfortunately. So definitely please check that out. I definitely appreciate it. Queen works really hard and she gets everything out at a fast rate, not the next day, but not too far. You know what I'm saying? Does anybody else have any other questions about anything before we close out? Oh yeah. Also, if you want to, definitely please check out the new book that I got up there, and my old book, The Dark Scope 418, the world's most dangerous comic book novel. Got some more coming out as well. Here, I'm gonna show them to you now. What the covers look like as well. Yeah, you can check these out at your leisure, inshallah. Yeah. References on Muslim customary law. Get Prince Uriel Bey's books if you can, the Consecrated Talismans, volumes 1 to 3, as well as any other book that he got out. Definitely check out the Circle 7 Quran by the Prophet Nawajul Ali, compiled by the Prophet Nawajul Ali. You can check out, is there another one I got? Let me see. Yeah, check those out. They give you a really good overview of how customary law and stuff like that works. So that way you can, get more versed and more familiar with how we're supposed to govern ourselves and move through the different societies that we find ourselves, domiciled in. And just because we're here doesn't, as they say, you can be in it but not of it. You know what I mean? And it's definitely a way for us to cohabit and coexist with people without having to take on all of the unjust things that they do to govern their society. So definitely check that out. Check those out if possible. Anybody else have any other questions? Let me see. 1 second. Yeah, this is what the homepage looks like, so you can check that out. Exactly, Jelani. He said just because you put the chicken in the oven don't make it a biscuit. Exactly. Yeah, I went to the Cahokia Mounds at one point. Uh yeah. If you want to build on that, you can hit me up at houseofel at hotmail.com for any direct consultation and things like that, because I don't sell paperwork and stuff. So I deal with people on a person by person basis, on a being by being basis. So you can definitely hit me up, House of L. We can set up a time of consult to build on things like nationalization or any other things that you may want to build on. Yeah, they're beautiful, the mounds. Anybody else have any other questions? Indeed. Long live the empire. I really appreciate you guys coming through. I appreciate the support and all of that. And if you have anything else, just hit me up at houseofel at hotmail.com. All right? Inshallah, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.